board meeting for Thursday, June 6th, 5 p.m. to order. Roll call starting on my left, please.
Stevenson here.
Minter here.
Jumati here.
Cole here.
Gabriel here.
I'd certify the posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, June 6th, 2024 was posted at the Rome Town Hall at 11:25 a.m., Quick Trip LLC at 11:47 a.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 11:42 a.m., and email to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 12:33 p.m.
Approve the agenda, please.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve the agenda by Supervisor Cole, second by Supervisor Gabriel. Discussion? All in favor?
What discussion, did you want to separate that item?
No, we can do it when we get to the
the
item.
agenda item? Okay, sorry. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pledge of Allegiance. Citizen comments?
None.
No cards? All right. But I will read, the board will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on the agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. No action contemplated except possible referral to the future agenda. Number 7, informational updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Starting on my left.
Only thing is that I'm sure that's on your agenda as well to note that tomorrow night at the Rome Town, at the band shell, we do have the ribbon cutting and first night of the band shell being open with Southbound playing. Should be a fun time.
All right, sounds good. Supervisor Minter, anything?
Well, at the library board meeting this morning, I started to take a whole lot of notes about all the summer events going on at the library, and I decided rather than reading a list of about 20 items, check the library website and library Facebook page. However, good to note that if you are signing up for the summer reading program for adults or kids, registration is next week, the 10th to the 14th. So that's an important thing. Sign up for the summer reading program. We got lots of prizes, Squishmallows and things like that for the kids, and heard some really interesting adult prizes for the reading event. But please check the library website. There are a ton of things going on at the library this summer, and at least one event a week, I would say. I see the director nodding in the corner.
Supervisor Cole?
I'll piggyback on the ribbon cutting celebration and give you some times. The food and beer starts at 5 o'clock. The ribbon cutting's at 6:15 and the concert starts at 6:30, goes till 8:30. I think you know to bring your own chairs and such. And then the Snow Bandits Classic Car and Snowmobile Show is next Saturday, June 15th. That's 9 to 3 in the Rome Town Center. And I think that's all I had.
Okay.
I have nothing
Supervisor
else
Gabriel?
to add.
Okay. Moving on, item 8, discuss and possible action on the following items. Discussion and possible action approval of the May 16th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
A second.
Motion by Supervisor Gabriel, second by Supervisor Cole to approve the May 16th, 2024 meeting minutes. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, discussion and possible action, Clifton Larson Allen LLP presentation of the town's 2023 audit. Amber, will you join us, please?
Can everybody hear me? Is it on? Okay. Good afternoon. For those that don't know me, I am Amber Danielski. I am the signing director, the principal in charge of the audit for the town of Rome and for the water utility. I'm going to go through the bound document of the financial statements, just some select pages, and then at the end, if you guys have any questions on other pages, just let me know and we'll go through those. So if you turn just past the table of contents, the first letter there, or the letter there, is the audit opinion letter. So this letter has various responsibilities and requirements that are all labeled out in here based on the auditing standards. But it starts out with the most important paragraph, which is your audit opinions, which is what, basically it's that whole summary level of how did the audit go. So the second paragraph there states, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of your governmental activities, your business type activities, each major fund, and then the aggregate remaining funds. And so what that means in clear speak is that it's a clean audit opinion. We didn't find anything materially misstated that wasn't ultimately ended up corrected via journal entry or wasn't clarified some other way. As a step back, just so you kind of understand how we do our audit, we follow governmental auditing standards and generally accepted auditing standards. And by doing that, what we do is we do a risk-based audit. We come in usually in November, December, and do interviews with Melissa and various other personnel, just to understand what happened during the year and understand your internal controls that are in place. So those checks and balances of reviewing payroll, disbursements, receipts, all that kind of stuff. And based on that, we design our audit tests and where we're going to focus our time and determine, and also how many samples we're going to pick or what size samples. Are we going to test 5 receipts? Are we going to test 20 receipts? Are we going to test 25 disbursements for various areas, depending on everything that we've learned from there. We don't obviously test every single transaction. We'd probably still be here if that was the case. And so that's what the nature of that risk-based audit is. And so ultimately, after all that, we obviously ended up with some findings, which I'll discuss at the end, but nothing that was unusual or enough to warrant us to have to give you a different type of opinion than a clean audit opinion. Moving then to page 9. So page 9 is your balance sheet as of December 31st. So this page is a snapshot of what your balances are for your receivables or your assets and your liabilities as of December 31st, focusing on your various funds. So the two funds I'm going to focus in particular are the two middle columns, your general fund and your TIF. So your general fund had total assets of $6.5 million as of December 31st. The majority of that was in cash and investments, and then also taxes receivable. Some of that amount is a little higher because of those advanced tax collections from December that then were, settled out in January. You had liabilities of $258,000. The majority of that is accounts payable. That amount can fluctuate from year to year depending on just timing, if you had a project that carried over and was paid late, or various other items. I believe that, if I remember correctly, that balance was pretty comparable to the prior year. The next category is deferred inflows of resources. This is mainly your property taxes that get levied in November and December when you're doing the budget process, but aren't actually recognized as revenue until the next year based on how state statutes is written. So as you can tell, the majority of that $3.8 million was the general fund's portion of the property tax that's coming in now in 24. The net remainder of all that is your fund balances. So total fund balance for the general fund was $2.2 million. And you'll see there's various categories there. There's a lot more detail on page 56 if you're interested on what makes up those different categories. But briefly, non-spendable, that means it's stuff that you've basically prepaid for the coming year. So a lot of times you're prepaying health insurance for next year, or you're prepaying property and liability insurance for the next year kind of thing. Or, if you also had some inventory, if you had some gravel inventory on hand, if you're tracking it that way, that could be in there. The restricted category is when you've received funds through third parties and they're telling you how you can use it. So a lot of times that's donations, sometimes that's state statute, and sometimes it's your bond resolution. And for this year, at 2023, the majority of that was tied to the bond that was taken out in 2023 because there was some premium and they wanted you to use it now in 24 for your towards your debt payments. The committed category is items that the board itself has decided that there's going to be carry forwards for. And that can also fluctuate depending on if you're just in the process of putting money aside and the project's going to happen 3 years from now, or if now this is the year you're spending down the projects. Assigned is similar, but a little less restrictive. A lot of times this is when you're balancing the budget and you're saying, we're going to use this much of fund balance to balance the budget for next year, kind of things. Much more, less. You don't have to use it, or if you decide not to use it, it can just close into fund balance, where if it's committed, the board has to make another resolution to uncommit it. So that's where the different levels come in. Unassigned fund balance was $1.6 million. This is your cash flow fund balance. This is what's not been set aside for anything else. So it can be used just to pay the current bills coming in each month. It can be used to cover unanticipated expenditures if all of a sudden, you had something happen, or, snow and removal costs end up being really high for 1 year or something like that, that it gives you this fluctuation. the town has a policy where they want this amount to be 17% of expenditures. And you are currently meeting that requirement. This $1.5 million is about 20% of what your requirement is, or compared to total. From an industry perspective, we usually see something anywhere between 15 and 25%. So your policy's right in there in those lines, but it can vary. Every municipality is different. They have different timings of when their expenditures come in. They have different activities that they provide to the residents. So it does play into that. But again, you are within your own policy, and so you're meeting the requirements. And if you ever fell below that, then your policy requires you to take additional steps to figure out how you're going to replenish that amount. Any questions on the general fund? Okay. The next fund is your TIF fund. Obviously, there's lots of activity just through development in those parcels there. So at year end, you had total assets of $1.4 million. The majority of that was tax receivables coming in now in 24, which you can tell down in your deferred inflow section. You had $1.2 million in tax increment coming in now in 2024 that'll be recorded as revenue. And you had net fund balance of $149,000 in that fund. And it's shown in the restricted line because under state statutes, you're required to spend it on the TIF projects, pay down the debt related to the TIF and all that kind of stuff. Historically, the town's been using some of that fund balance to pay back the developer loan. So, that's why it might be a little lower when you say, hey, why are we getting $1.2 million of revenue coming in and we haven't had a lot of project expenses? It's more because the town's been paying off that developer loan. There's a little bit left of a balance as of 12/31/23 on that loan. Any questions on the balance sheet for the TIF? Okay, then moving to page 11. So this is your income statement, your revenues and expenses for those funds. And also that third column from the left there where it says other governmental funds, that's your other funds all combined. So your ARPA fund and debt service fund and just kind of all combined there. But going back to the general fund, you had revenues of $6.1 million or almost 6.2, and the majority of that was property taxes. And that tax line also includes your room tax collections that come in. The expenditures were $7.8 million. The majority this year was in your capital outlay. There was the big road project, there was the band shell, there was a bunch of various different projects that led to that $2.6 million in capital outlay. You had the long-term debt of $1.3 million there and other financing sources. Ultimately, your fund balance decreased $600,000, but that was basically planned when you look at the budget. There was one project that got delayed, and so those funds were allowed to be then spent now in 2023. Ultimately ending in $2.2 million of fund balance for the general fund. And then the TIF fund, as you can see, last year you had taxes of $1.6 million. You paid back $1.5 million in principal, and that was on some general obligation loan plus that developer loan. Ultimately, a small increase of $4,600 in fund balance, leading to that ending balance of $149,000. Any questions on that? Okay, then briefly, I want to touch base on the water utility. So if you go to page 16, page 16 is the income statement for the water utility. So you had total operating revenue, so total user charges, including the public fire protection charges, of just about $1 million, and operating expenses of $777,000. So you had operating income of $267,000. You had non-operating revenues and expenses. This is where your debt payments or the interest on your debt gets shown for your water utility. And then you had capital contributions. This one's a little bit bigger this year, that $174,799. That includes the amount that the town had paid for the water main for the Timberline project. So that's most years that's a little smaller, and it's just more from residents connecting in. So that was a bigger number this year. The $118,000 transfer out, that's the property tax equivalent that gets transferred to the general fund. Ultimately, you had a change in net position of $285,000 for the water utility. Ending fund balance is $4.7 million. The majority of that balance is tied up in your capital assets, the tower, the mains, the services, all those type items. Mm-hmm. Any questions on the water utility? Okay. So then briefly, I just want to touch base on the findings that we had during the audit. These are the same findings we've had the past few years. If you go to page 71, when we look at your internal controls, we don't do high enough level to give an audit opinion on your internal controls, but what we're required to under the standards is when we think that there's something that is just a weakness or something that could be improved upon or just something that just stands out to us, we're still required to disclose it to the board. The first one is segregation of duties specific to the water utility. And this one, the next finding is segregation of duties for the town general fund operations. And basically what those two findings mean is when we look at internal controls, you never want one person handling the transaction from start to finish. Or you want to make sure that there's enough checks and balances, reviews of what they're doing to make sure that they couldn't, if there was an unscrupulous person in that position, that they couldn't mess with something, whether pay themselves more, take some cash, whatever you want to call it. So what we're saying in these findings is just, one, to be aware of it, because as a small municipality, there's sometimes no way around it. And even sometimes your accounting software doesn't necessarily let you have anything around it, because sometimes people if you have rights to this, that means you also have rights to that kind of thing. But that's where having multiple layers of review and checks and balances of the activity fall into play. So our recommendation is, one, just be aware of it and continue your review as a board of reviewing the disbursements, reviewing the different activity reports that come through, and keep asking those questions, because that's an important mitigating control. And then also, I know the town's doing it this year, is, take the time and review the various areas. Look at receipting. Are there ways we could break it up more? Or then look at payroll. You don't have to do every area every year, because that would just be kind of crazy, but, take the time and just consider. Maybe it is broken up as best as you can, and that's just going to be what it's going to be. But at least then you can just review and understand what's going on and ask questions. The third finding, which starts on page 73, is preparation of the financial statements. So this bound document we're in is the responsibility of management to prepare, other than this letter here about findings and the first letter here in the beginning about opinions. But most municipalities and even some counties and everything, they hire their auditors to do it for cost benefit purposes. But because it isn't prepared internally, there's always a risk that there could be a footnote that's not necessarily quite up to par with what your policy says, or something else could just be missed. So that's why we report it as a finding. What ends up happening is we prepare this document, then we give a copy to Melissa and the administrator to review and look over and say, does anything stand out to them? And that's how we can still keep our independence but still prepare the document for you. And then the fourth finding, which starts on the bottom of page 74, is adjustments to town records. This finding varies every year. Sometimes that finding is there, sometimes it's not. What we do at the end of the audit is we take a step back and look at all the proposed audit adjustments we have for the various different funds. And we look at them from two different levels. We look at them at the dollar amount, how significant of a dollar amount were they? And then also from the qualitative standpoint, even though this might be a small dollar amount, would it have been misleading to the readers if it wasn't made, kind of thing. And when we look back on that, then from there what our assessment is that if it's high enough and we've made significant amounts of an entry, or we deem it qualitatively important, we include this finding in here. And it's just so that way that sometimes when you're getting the reports at December and then our audit happens in March, there's going to be differences from what you're looking at. And then also our recommendation is more just, reach out to us. We're available to help train, as additional services or kind of thing to help, explain why the accounting rules want it this way kind of thing versus anything else. And then also just ask questions of the audit entries to understand why things need to be in a certain spot kind of thing. Because there's been a lot of accounting rules changing now, and there's another one that'll be changing for 2024. So it's just important to always understand those entries and understand what the impact can be to your financials from what you've looked at maybe when you reviewed a December activity report in January versus now. And with that, does anybody have any other questions? If not, then I guess I'll just briefly touch on that new accounting standard that goes into effect for your 2024 statements, just so you're aware of what's going on and management can start gathering data. So it focuses on compensated absences, so your vacation, your sick, your comp time, accruals, but then also family leave accrual, things like that, or military leave, or just various other leave benefits that you might have in your policies. The rules before kind of really only focused on vacation and sick leave, and pretty much only if it got cash paid out for the most part. There were a few other times when you had to pick it up. But now under this new rule, and it's GASB 101, it basically wants it picked up, even if it's not paid out in cash, kind of thing. Or, if you can convert it to health insurance, they still want it listed, calculated as liability. Or if one of the examples was given, like, let's say one employee goes on family leave at the beginning of December, but that leave is, 8 weeks or whatever, so there's technically still a liability to be paid out for the remaining 4 weeks, then a liability needs to be recorded for that. So there's a little bit more tracking than just the usual vacation and sick hours leave kind of thing. So there is an article on GFOA's website from about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, from when the GASB issued the new standard. If you want to look it up, it's GASB, and if you do a Google search for GASB 101, you'll see some information on it. But our recommendation is to start looking through your policies, through your HR policies, through whatever policies you have that define what kind of leave accruals you can have, and start reading them, and then review that article. And then when we get here in November, we'll start asking you questions about what you found and go from there about how to figure out how to calculate what the balances are.
Does anybody have any questions for Amber?
No.
Robbie, did you have any questions you wanted to ask, or Jason, Nick, anybody? All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Sounds
We
good.
appreciate it. Thank
You
you for
guys
your
have a good evening.
you.
All right, and
Thank
have
you.
a safe drive home. Do we need a motion and second to accept this year's audit then, Nick? Would that be appropriate? Okay. All right,
I move that we accept the audit report of Clifton Larson Allen LLP regarding the audit of the 2023 financials for the town of Rome.
I'll second.
we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Cole to accept the Clifton Larson Allen LLP 2023 audit of the town of Rome and the water utility. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion and possible action, consideration of Longbow Court design bids. Brad, would you like to come up, please?
All right, to give everyone just a quick summary on this, the background on it. Back this January, February, the town of Rome was awarded through the local road improvement program $63,000, $63,197.69 for the construction on Longbow Court. Part of that is we have to get a design done for that, and we opened bids on that on May 7th and received two. One from General Engineering, not to exceed $20,000, and one from Quest Engineering for $29,442.33. So tonight, just looking for approval to go ahead and award the design of Longbow Court to General Engineering for the not to exceed $20,000.
I have a question. I know that I believe our policy states we're supposed to accept the lowest bid. Is that correct?
I think by statute, you have to pending unless you have a good reason as to why not to give it to the low.
Isn't it usually the lowest responsible bid,
Yeah, lowest
something like
responsible.
that?
The lowest responsible bidder. Okay. Thank you.
And it was complete, I mean, both the bids?
Yeah.
Everything?
Yep.
They're comparable, so they're both responsible bidders.
Yes, yeah.
I was just curious why there would be such a difference. If you could explain to us, please, why there's such a difference between the two? The $9,000, do you know?
It might come down to their hourly rates, they might charge less.
Okay,
They might do it with different staff. They're both bid the same thing, doing the same amount of work, same work, it just, one's $9,000 less.
okay, thank you for the clarification.
Have you both work with both of these businesses and
Yeah,
comfortable working with them both?
yep.
I move to accept the bid by GEC of a cost of not to exceed $20,000 for the design work on the Longbow Court project.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson to accept the bid on the recommendation of a Public Works Director, Brand Martinson, for general engineering company not to exceed $20,000 for Longbow Court. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, item number 11, discussion and possible action, consideration of Akron Drive east of State Highway 13 paving bids.
All right, on May 21st, we opened bids for this project. We received two bids, one from American Asphalt for $462,696.01, and one from Scott Construction for $501,863.18. You'll see that I kind of gave you a summary as to where we're at. By awarding this to American Asphalt, we still are under our budgeted amount to spend in 2024 by about $72,000. Feel comfortable hanging on to that just for in case there's any possible overruns. So tonight we're looking for the approval to award the paving on Akron Avenue, starting 2 miles east of 13 to 7th Drive to American Asphalt.
The same question, so the two are both comparable?
Yes. Yep. The quantities were given, just their unit prices were.
Did we on our last big road project have Quest Engineering kind of coming and checking that the depths were the right depth, or does that not apply for just asphaltic?
Last year we did, yes, and we will do that again this year, but that's not,
It's not a part of
Part of
this,
this,
and
no,
it's not
that's
a
a separate-
cost that has to be considered in this?
no.
Okay.
No.
Just
Well, I do
wondering.
see it in here under number 1, though. The question you're asking, I think, Jackie.
It just
Scope
says
of
that we
work?
will be working with Quest for doing the testing.
Oh.
Just so the contractor knows that we will
Oh.
be.
So they'll
Okay,
do the
gotcha.
nuclear.
I see it now.
Okay,
I
the
didn't
nuclear
read it
test.
carefully.
that's all
Oh, that's okay. I wasn't pointing it out for that
No,
reason,
I'm
but
just
I
joking
didn't
at
know.
myself
No, no,
for
no, I
not
wasn't-
reading
Because
this
I wasn't
every
clear
word of this.
either, so if it was part of the,
I just remember that was done
Right,
before
and it
to
was-
make quality control.
yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the bid to replace the asphaltic paving on Akron Drive, east of Highway 13, to accept the bid of American Asphalt in the amount of $462,696.01.
I'll second that.
You sure about the penny? No.
Okay, get a discount.
Motion by Supervisor Cole, second by Supervisor Gabriel to accept the road bid by American Asphalt for the paving of Akron Drive east of State Highway 13 in the amount of $462,695.01. Any more, did I say that right?
1 cent.
Oh, 96 cents, oh, and 1 cent, I'm sorry. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. These are nice reports.
Discussion and possible action, approval of the request from the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for the waiver of rental fees from the Rome Town Center Band Shell for the Heart of Wisconsin monthly concert series on June 11th, 9th, and August 13th. Jason, did you want to give us any update or feedback on this, or just?
It's a request for them to waive the fee board decision.
So it'd be $300, we'd be waiving, right?
Well,
I
it's,
think
it's,
June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th.
no, I think you're looking at just the,
$150 for each concert.
yeah, for the first 4 hours, plus their security deposit, right? Or would they still
It
pay?
doesn't look, are they asking to waive the security deposit?
Nope, that's filled out on.
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
I think they're
okay.
paying those. And for what it matters, I did check to make sure that they wanted this at the gazebo, because now we have the band shelter, but they do want to continue with this concert at the gazebo.
And I believe they were waived in the past years as well.
And they do want to continue it at the gazebo?
Yes.
I move to approve approve the waiver of the rental fees on the gazebo for the dates of June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th for the Heart of Wisconsin events.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson for the waiver of rental fees at the Rome Town Center gazebo. All in favor? Or any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action, approval of the resolution number 24, revising approved 2024 wages and per diems for town staff, volunteer firefighters, and committees.
You have the sheet in front of you. The finance position was added to this also. It came before the board before with the part-time boat patrol and part-time officers. Those are all broke out onto this resolution as approved by the board at a previous meeting. And it also corrected the per diem issue with board members and meetings that they're required to go to. So it eliminates all the different ones because they're all the same except for the chair of the PFC. So that's why this appears before you tonight for approval.
Excuse me, I'm gonna ask a clarification here again. We've been getting a $30 per diem on top of our board salary based on what is voted in by the voters. Why is this getting changed to $35 for boards, committees, and commissions? For board members? Town board appointed?
I believe the rate, I was told the rate that's being paid was $35. It shouldn't be going up. If that's the case, I'll have to speak with our deputy clerk on this, but it was to clarify board assignments that the town board says you're required to go to this meeting, that would qualify for a per diem. And all of those per diems are the same to my knowledge. There's not to be an increase in the per diem.
No, there isn't to be an increase, so you were ill-informed. We get $30 per meeting and committee, and Robbie's agreeing with that statement.
Yeah, I just signed the.
So
library
that needs to be changed to $30.
I
I
think it is
apologize for that
30.
error. It was, I'm guessing that was a typo. There was no intent to raise the amount of the per diems. It was to straighten it out. If you look below, they're all listed, and it doesn't match what we had in our code. So if an individual is assigned to go to a meeting as a board member,
Correct.
they would get the $30 per diem. So I apologize for the typo on that form. I didn't catch that. I thought that the rates were carried over at the same $30 rate that they were before.
Okay, because you were adding on you were just trying to clarify it by just clearing up all of the committees, because now it would cover people assigned to Tri-Lakes, assigned to visit Rome, any committee that they are
Any
attending.
committee that this town board assigns them to
Correct.
attend would be.
And for
eligible
clarification,
per diems.
right, and for clarification, the police fire commissioner gets more because he's often involved in extensive recruitment and hiring
That
processes.
was
Right,
previously.
Just so the public
yeah, there's-
knows.
There's no increase to any of the fees.
all right, thank you for that clarification.
Move to approve the revision to the 2024 wages and per diems with the correction that the town board appointed boards and commission committees shall be corrected to $30 per diem when a quorum is present, as opposed to what was written in the board packet.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Gabriel for the approval of resolution number 24 revising the approved 2024 wages and per diems by town staff, volunteer firefighters, and committees, with the correction of the town board appointed boards, commissions, and committees to the $30 per diem when a quorum, correction on the spelling as well, please, is present. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and possible action. Approval of the ordinance number 24, amendment to Town of Rome Code Chapter 209, golf carts. Nick, this is yours, please.
Madam Chair, good evening, everyone. So before you this evening is a proposed update to Chapter 209 of the Town Code. Specifically, the amendment that's proposed relates to the establishment of golf cart crossing points across town highways. So just as a little bit of a lead-in and background, state statute does control here. It controls what we can and can't do. State statute, section 349.18, does allow the town to establish such points, the highway crossing points, with a couple of requirements. The requirements that exist in statute are that the golf cart has to yield the right of way, and if we establish or designate crossing points, that we need to post proper signage at the crossing points. That's what exists in statute. Our current ordinance is worded in a way that golf carts cannot cross another highway unless it's with a speed limit of 25 miles per hour or less. I'm not sure where or why the town put the 25 miles per hour or less. I suspect it may relate to, there's a different section of statute that relates to operation on town highways, which we're not talking about here, right? We're talking about just crossing. And so, as we reviewed this, as I came across this, we did see that was inconsistent with state statute. One other point though, it was around 2018, 2019, this was updated a little bit when we did codify our code of ordinances. At that time, general code had given us a general review of all our code sections and any recommendations. We had a section in this ordinance that made a reference to an addendum with a list of crossing points. And we never could find the addendum. So we took that part of it out, but unfortunately did not catch the 25 miles per hour or less. Just a couple notes here though. What this does, it doesn't change anything, from the standpoint of where our designated highway crossing points are. Because the way the statute is worded, the town still designates a crossing point. Then the town places the signage. Okay, and so this is really just cleaning it up to be consistent with statute is really what I'm proposing here. So it's saying under 209-4 that a golf cart operated on the town highway may not cross another highway except as designated as a highway crossing point. I removed the 25 miles per hour or less. Again, the appropriateness of designating that particular point as a crossing point is still up to the town and would be reviewed. For example, you can't designate a crossing point across a state highway that is above 35 miles per hour. So, you're still going to have to make a determination on the appropriateness as a crossing point. This 25 miles per hour isn't your limitation anymore. It could be a 35 mile or a 30 mile per hour road as well. And then I just cleaned up the wording on C, stating that the signage needs to be erected on both sides of each highway in which golf cart crossing is permitted, because it's not operation. Remember, that's a different section of this code altogether. That's why I say I'm almost thinking, I don't know what the reason for that 25 was, but it almost reads like the operation part of the statute. This is just referencing the crossing part of the statute.
I'm trying to picture any place where you could cross from a 25 to a 25. I know you can cross the highway, but I'm just trying to picture if there's any place in the town where you could drive a golf cart, be on a 25 mile per hour road, cross the highway, and go on to another 25 mile per hour road.
If
it existed, I'm trying to think
the
where
point would be
it would be.
an intersecting road.
Yeah.
So you're on your 25 and the intersecting road is something other than 25.
I think at the time this,
I mean, you have other
Highway D
ones.
to Walden, or,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you
Take over
go.
Highway D's gonna bring you there.
So remember,
Perfect, now you gave me one.
So
I
remember
was
that-
just
Actually,
trying to
45
think, is there
though.
any place at
You
all
could
that
do
this exists?
Kingsway.
yes.
But like if you were on 15th Avenue in the Apache intersection to
Yes.
cross there, if it would need to be designated as a route, and that would be under the
Okay,
current ordinance,
gotcha.
you couldn't put a crossing there because it's
Okay.
outside of the school.
Yeah.
so this doesn't get somebody to be able to operate on those other roads.
No,
It's
I
just
didn't
simply
think so.
crossing.
I was just thinking practically if it even existed, it would happen, but it does. Okay. So you need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll move, let's see, I have to phrase it correctly, that we approve, Okay, approval of ordinance number 24 dash amendment to Town of Rome Code Chapter 209 golf carts.
I'll second that.
Have approval, okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Cole, second by Supervisor Gabriel for the approval of ordinance number 24 dash amendment to the Town of Rome Code, Chapter 209, golf carts. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action. Approval of Class A combination retail liquor licenses for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Quick Trip Incorporated, doing business as Quick Trip Store, number 1218, 251 State Highway 13 South, Nakusa, Wisconsin. It should be 54457.
I'll make a motion to approve the Class A combination retail liquor license for the period of July 1st through June 30th, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 for Quick Trip.
Second?
Motion by Supervisor Gabriel, second by Supervisor Minter to approve a Class A combination retail liquor license for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Quick Trip Incorporated, doing business as Quick Trip Store, number 1218 at 251 State Highway 13 South, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457. Any more discussion? All in,
I just confirm with the police chief that the proper the background checks were done as indicated on these forms, and there were no problems or reason not to approve this.
Correct.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, discussion and possible action. Approval of Class A intoxicating retail liquor license for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Rome Country Meats and Deli, 264 Geneva Trail, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457.
Move to approve the Class A intoxicating retail liquor license for Rome Country Meats and Deli from the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
I'll second that.
Motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Gabriel for the approval of Class A intoxicating retail liquor license for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 for Rome Country Meats and Deli at 264 Geneva Trail, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457. Any discussion?
I just asked the same question on each of these.
Yes, no problems.
Okay.
Okay. This has really nothing to do with our vote on the motion, but what is the difference between a combination license
I was
and
gonna
an
ask the same,
intoxicating
I think
retail
it has to
license?
do with the, I think it has to do with the law change this year, but I had the same question. Because originally we had these listed the same and then I noticed they were broke apart.
Let's say liquor,
'Cause-
let's say liquor.
Yeah, they're both Class A liquor, but
What's
what's
the
the difference
difference?
between combination and
Well,
intoxicating?
combination usually is beer and liquor, and if it's just listed out as intoxicating liquor, that would.
I think Rome Country Meats doesn't
Does
have
not.
beer in
They
it.
do wine mostly.
Yeah.
So intoxicating, doesn't everything intoxicate you?
But maybe they can
But they
only
don't sell beer.
They don't
Oh,
do beer.
that's
Don't
the
sell
difference.
beer at Rome Country
I
Meats. Quick Trip
see.
sells beer and liquor.
Okay.
Got it, oh, okay, duh. Oh, it's your fault, Dan.
Well, inquiring minds out in the public want to know. Sure.
I like how they listed it though,
Make us all
intoxicating.
look dumb.
It's just a weird language.
I know it is. I thought
Okay.
it maybe had to do with the law change and we could be smart. Okay. Number 17.
Hey, you gotta vote.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's all right. We need a light moment now and then, right? Okay, number 17. It's been requested that we will take these separated because one of our members has requested that item to be separated. All right. So, discussion and possible action: approval of Class B beer license for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Papa Bears Mini Golf LLC, 266 Matterhorn Trail, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457.
Move to approve the
Wait,
Class
no,
B.
Jackie didn't ask her question.
Oh, sorry. Well, that
Well,
comes
I
after the
usually
motion.
did that in the discussion.
Oh,
But I can ask it now. Is there any reason not to approve this based on criminal background checks? Okay.
oh, that's right, I was early. Okay.
Right. Move to approve the Class B beer license for Papa Bears from period of July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
All right.
I'll second.
Oh, okay. We have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson for the approval of a Class B beer license for the period of July 1st through 2024 through June 30th for June 30th, 2025. You want to do it for sentimental reasons or?
Well, he already said no.
Okay.
You can.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Right. Motion carries with one abstention. Second item is Wisconsin Trap Shooting Association, 1312 Akron Drive, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457.
Move to approve the Wisconsin State Trap Shooting Association Class B beer license for July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Gabriel for the approval of a Class B beer license for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Wisconsin State Trap Shooting Association, 1312 Akron Drive, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457. Any discussion?
Same question.
Background check was completed.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action. Approval of the renewal for Class B combination liquor licenses for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And I'll read them all together, and I think if it's okay with the board, we'll vote on them all together. All right, thank you. Hoozle's Lakeside Bar, LLC, doing business as Hoozle's at the Lakes, 1497 Alpine Drive, Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457. Avocados 2, and is it okay if I take the city and state and zip all at the end? Thank you. Avocados 2, LLC, 386 State Highway 13. Barnum Bay Enterprises, LLC, doing business as The Lure Bar and Grill, 1735 Archer Lane. Lake Camelot Lodge, LLC, doing business as Camelot on the Lake, 298 Leisure Lane. Lake Sherwood Property Owners Association, doing business as Lake Sherwood Lodge, 1146 West Queens Way. KMC Tux, LLC, doing business as Cal's Corner, 382 State Highway 13, all in Nakusa, Wisconsin, 54457.
Move to approve the renewal of the Class B combination liquor licenses as presented on the agenda for the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson for the approval of renewal for Class B combination liquor licenses for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 for all establishments as previously read. Is that okay, Attorney Flanagan? Thank you. Any more discussion?
Same question, and also adding that question, have there been any citations issued to any of these businesses listed that could impact their liquor licenses?
The record check was done, no citations that could impact the liquor licenses.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 19. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub C for the Wisconsin statutes which read, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Interim administrator, chief of police, administrative support specialist, and clerk treasurer. Roll call votes. Oh, motion, please.
I'll make a motion to go into closed door session.
You have to say according to statute.
According to statute, where my SHS went, according to 19.851C of Wisconsin statute.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Gabriel, second by Supervisor Minter to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub C of the Wisconsin statutes, which read, considering employment promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any employee, specifically the interim administrator, chief of police, administrative support specialist, and clerk treasurer. Roll call vote starting on my left.
Evenson, yes.
Minter, yes.
Jumati, yes.
Oh, yes.
Gabriel, yes.
We are now in closed session. Remember that your
We don't
Now you
keep
can't
on.
have
Chop, chop.
All right.
Back in order. All right. The board reserves the right to reconvene into open session as authorized by Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, sub 2, and continue with the agenda. So we want to start with the interim administrator, chief of police.
You have to come into,
Oh, I'm sorry, motion to come into open session, I'm sorry, my mistake.
I'll move we come into open session.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Evenson, second by Supervisor Gabriel to reconvene into open session as authorized by Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, and continue with our agenda. Motion, please, Supervisor Minter?
I move that we.
Oh, roll call vote, starting on my left.
Stevenson, yes.
Minter, yes.
Jamadi, yes.
Oh, yes.
Gabriel, yes.
Right, now.
I move that we approve the revision to the administrative assistant support specialist position for the town of Rome as presented in the session.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson to approve the administrative assistant support specialist job description as written. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would move that we extend the employment agreement with the chief of police, Jason Lauby, for an additional 3 years following the conclusion of his, added to the current expiring agreement in 2025, so it would end in 2028, with the addition of the language involving the appointment of Jason Lauby as the town administrator until such time as a further restructuring of the administrative structure is done.
What? Okay, I didn't understand the last piece. Why
Move
don't
that
you
we
leave
extend
that
his
last
agreement
piece
for 3
off?
years, and that the language regarding the town administrator appointment be included in that agreement.
and then authorize the chairperson to execute the agreement.
And authorize the chairperson to execute the agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay, and you wouldn't have any trouble if I just, okay, all right, try and recreate that, okay, like you said it. All right, motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Cole to move forward with the employment agreement
Extension.
extension
For 3 years.
for 3 years.
Following the conclusion of, in addition to the current 1 year remaining, so a total of 4 years.
For, do you, okay.
I'll get it off the,
Could you help us?
Yes, would
Attorney
you please
Flanagan, 'cause
repeat-
this is a
It was-
kind of
it
an
was a
important
motion.
agreement.
Yes, this is important, so would you please repeat it? Thank you.
So it was a motion to extend the employment agreement with the chief of police for an additional 3 years beyond the expiring date of the current agreement, and include the appointment of administrator in the agreement as proposed.
Thank you, Attorney Flanagan and Supervisor Minter. Thank you. All right, so any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right, now with, I believe we have a third.
No, we won't do it now.
No? Okay. All right.
Just those two.
Oh, that, anything remains the same for? We
No
need it,
changes on
No
anything else.
changes on anything else.
oh,
Nothing needs a motion.
oh, okay. All right. Item number 21. Discussion and possible action. Approval of administrative assistant and finance director treasurer position.
We just did that when we came out of closed session.
I know, but I just wanna, I still have to read off the item and just say, I was confused on the clerk treasurer piece from closed session regarding, okay. But I still have to read 21, I'm sorry. And we're gonna just not do any action on that one at all. All right, so dates and items for future agenda meetings. Next agenda items, we were talking about a town board retreat training workshop similar to what we did last year. So if each of you would please come forward with, at our next meeting, 2 ideas for opportunities as we move forward. maybe we could look at some of the items. I know, the staff is talking about what we had assigned them with last month when we adopted the organizational structure audit and study. Maybe they'll give us some assignments from that. We could do that on our agenda. We'll have maybe some training on parliamentary procedure or some things like we did with the goals matrix with our opportunities and objectives to achieve them. Whatever ideas that Nick might come up with for you. There was also, we might have a banner policy come forward from the Rome Town Center. Anything else that anybody might have?
No, I'll just say that I will not be here for the next meeting. I'll be in Bismarck, North Dakota. Not have any.
Alrighty, and I'm sure it'll build itself out from there, and some other things might come up in the meantime. Next meeting date and time, the date falls on July 4th, so,
No, you're,
Meetings from now.
oh, I'm sorry, June 18th. Yeah, let's not rush the time.
We can skip the June meeting.
Yeah, June 20th, I'm sorry,
because then the
folks.
July meeting will be long as heck. when I
But as
skip
long
it.
as we're talking about it, it was on my mind, so June 20th, I think it was on my mind, that's why. We had talked at CDA that our July meeting falls on the 4th of, or the first Thursday.
4th of July.
Yeah, so if we could do it on that Tuesday, the 2nd, 3 of us said that was okay. Would that be okay for, we know it's the holiday week and you might have off, but how does that look for you,
Is it Tuesday?
Supervisor Evenson and
I would-
Gabriel?
I would probably be open for that 4th of July week, even though Tuesdays are closed day. So if the other 4 can make it, we could still have your quorum. That week is really bad for me,
All right, no problem, but
but I have no problem.
Cheryl,
if
is
you-
it an issue for you? If it's an issue, then we will figure something
As
else.
long as it's not before 5 o'clock. Because leaving 15 minutes early is hard enough right now, but I can't go any earlier that week.
Why don't we go at 5:30 on the 2nd then?
That's
I mean,
kind
I'd
of
be-
confusing for public, but
It's fine. I mean,
It's
I
already
can,
gonna be confusing. We're
I
moving it
can
from
be
the
here.
Thursday to the Tuesday, so.
I can be here at 5, it's just nothing earlier,
it wouldn't be earlier.
because sometimes we come earlier. So just wanted to make
Oh,
sure.
I don't think so.
So 5 o'clock on the 2nd of July, Tuesday would be okay? All right,
Because then
And-
we have CDA at 3 o'clock and the board meeting at 5 o'clock on July 2nd.
all right. And then sorry again about June 20th. I don't want to hurry up the month any more than we have to, right? It goes fast enough. So, all righty, and anybody thinks of anything, get those topics to Jason or Robbie, and meeting adjourned.
6:36.